And at what point did you feel like you started like really earning the respect of the people on the street?
Well, it was difficult for me because I was a younger guy, and you have a lot of resentment from the older guys in that life. So you had to be a little bit humble, but you also had to be forceful because, in that life, you could be 20, a guy could be 70, and if you're a made guy, you have the same stature as him. So, but you also, in their eyes, have to earn that respect. And I think that, I did the right thing with the right people. And when I started to earn money, people started to take notice. I made other people earn around me, which is huge in that life. You make people earn, you get a lot of loyalty, whether it be real or not, but it happens that way. And then, when I landed on the big deal, well, then at that point in time, everybody wants a piece of you.
And speaking of like money buying loyalty, I think I've heard you say that in a couple other interviews. Do you feel like at some point that loyalty runs out? Do you think that money can only buy loyalty in perhaps the short term?
Absolutely. It's not a real loyalty. It's a loyalty based upon need and not based upon love and honor and respect. So, in a lot of cases like that, when the money runs out, the loyalty runs out. And some cases, when the more money is still coming in, the loyalty runs out because they resent you and want what you have, and they don't want you to have what you have. So that's something you gotta realize, especially in that life, because that can become very dangerous.
Do you feel like, or did you feel like you had any true, like real friends in that life?
Oh yeah, I mean, I had friends, I had people until today that, I miss because they're not around anymore. But you can count them on one hand, that's for sure.
Wow. So then, talk about, speaking of being made, Halloween 75, it's the
Right.
day you get made. Will you talk a little bit about that process for people who aren't familiar with the ritual, I suppose?
Well, it is a ritual, and it's a very serious ritual, very serious tradition in that life. You take a very solemn oath that I took very seriously back then. I take it seriously today, even though I don't consider myself a member of the life. I mean, what I know about that life is in my heart and my mind. It doesn't go away, and you can't just say, I'm not that person anymore mentally. I mean, because in a lot of ways, I still think that way. I mean, it was such a part of my life. I mean, not only did I grow up in it, but I lived it for over 20, almost 25 years. So I always say when I got out of that life, I didn't get a lobotomy. A lot of it is still in me. And a lot of times I have to fight it off, quite honestly, just living my daily life. But, it was a ritual. There were 6 of us that night that took the oath, and, it was a blood oath. I mean, some of my blood was shed, and they put a saint in my hand, and it burnt, in my hand. And they told me, if you violate this oath, betray your brothers and you'll die and burn in hell, basically like the saint is burning in your hands. Do you accept? And I said, yes, I do. And it was an overwhelming, exhilarating feeling for me at that moment because, I was a recruit for a couple of years. You got to earn your stripes. They're not just given to you. Even though my father proposed me, you still have to earn it. And so it was a big moment in my life, one of the biggest moments in my life, even though it was, it was a bad moment, but it was a big moment.
So you're about 24, I
I
think.
was 24, yeah.
And I mean, are you nervous? Do you have doubts of like, I don't know if this is the right thing. I mean, this is an oath for life.
I had no doubt at that point in time. To me it was exhilarating because, it was a bond with my dad. And I really idolized my dad at that point. And for me, it was like, not only are we father and son, but we're bound, in another way by this oath that we took. So for me, it was very exhilarating. I was full in all the way.
And what was it about this bond with your dad that was so strong? I mean, you literally, sacrificed, continuing your university and your own potential career as a doctor in some medical field, and to go and, I mean, virtually kind of avenge your dad's time. What was it about you and your father that brought you so close and made you, ready to drop everything for him?
I love my dad. I mean, he was a good father. He was very supportive of me. And I felt at that time he got a real bad rap, and, spend the rest of his life in prison. I mean, if I didn't do something to help him out, I wouldn't have thought well of myself. So, but there was this something between us. I mean, it was beyond love. It was more that I idolized my dad, and just watching him, observing him, knowing how he treated me, it was special, and I felt I owed him.